Namaste, Muria Zimbabwe, and thank you for joining us on Nehanda TV. Today, my guest is the president of the Movement for Democratic Change, Mr. Nelson Chamisa, as he goes by his title, of course, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, joining us on Nehanda TV. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. First things first. You are obviously in the United Kingdom. Let's start with that one. Every time you are traveling abroad, the state media is screaming headlines that you are going to go and call for sanctions. They are always accusing you of throwing spanners in the works. So just to start with a clarification, this trip, what is it all about?
Well, first, before I go into the trip, I must deal with the issue of the state media. We are greatly disheartened and disappointed that we have our state media entrapped in the past, arrested in the past, thinking that when we are in the alternative movement or the opposition movement, going for elections, we constitute the enemy to the people of Zimbabwe, the enemy to the state. What they forget is that because we are the alternative in government, we also are part of government, so we have every right to engage the international community, particularly in terms of two issues: the developments back home and also issues to do with reconstruction, issues to do with re-engagement. So the attitude of the state media is something that must be corrected, and it's part of what we are going to correct come July when I become the head of state. The new administration that we are going to lead is an administration for all, an administration that will entail respecting the freedom of the media, the diversity of the media, but also respecting all the other people, even those who are not necessarily in government. So state media is something that we have to move from being state-centric to being public-centric, not just supporting the state in the context of the narrow sense of government, but also supporting the public and giving the public the proper consumption of information.
Okay, now all this will happen if you win the elections.
Indeed.
And there is a big worry swirling around that there's a prospect of ballot tampering. So your supporters are confident you will win, but some are skeptical, saying this is a military junta that removed Mugabe, via a military coup. They're not going to give up power that easily. How worried are you by this accusation of ballot tampering?
Well, not worried at all. We are not worried because we know that to be worried, you don't have an answer. We are concerned. When we are concerned, we have a positive action that we can institute to try and deal with the issues. So what we are doing is to make sure that we pull all the necessary stops, leave no stone unturned in making sure that the election is not rigged, and that we have done, we are doing, and we are engaging all the necessary stakeholders within the country, and this is part of the reason why I must then answer your first question. Why are we here? We are here because we are building a global coalition for free and fair elections. We are here because we are coming here to globalize and consolidate, crystallize the voice for change, the voice for free and fair elections, the voice for an inclusive and peaceful election in Zimbabwe. To do that, we need guarantors, we need underwriters in SADC, AU, within the United Nations, and of course in the international community at large, particularly the British government, particularly the European Union, and of course the United States of America and other global superpowers, so that they also appreciate our circumstances. They also are able to shepherd, superintend our own democratic processes within the country. So that is what we are doing as a way of securing and safeguarding the possibilities of a rigged election, the possibilities of a manipulated outcome. And I must say that the momentum in the country is such a huge one that rigging, yes, they will try, but they will not succeed.
Now, talking about the issue of ballot tampering, there was some confusion with statements being circulated that you were planning a demonstration for Friday. I see your spokesperson, Luke Tambarinyoka, has issued a statement on that. What's the position?
Well, I did not issue any statement. I've been preoccupied with this very important international leg. Our politics has been at this diplomatic level, and this is the focus we have. As and when we do demonstrations, we do not hold or conduct, even call for those demonstrations in a pedestrian manner, such as the one that has been used. We don't use WhatsApp, to circulate our messages. We have official platforms. I like to announce to the people the reason for the demonstration, the scope of that demonstration, the character of that demonstration, and of course, the timing of that demonstration. What has been done by certain characters who obviously have their own sinister motive. But we are going to have more public demonstrations coming, and they will come on account of us pushing pressure and pushing our government to make sure that they resolve fundamental issues.
Okay. Another concern, obviously, is the issue of vote splitting, mainly on the premise that your ascension to the presidency saw Thokozani Khupe being expelled, and there's that whole legal battle over the name. How worried are you that maybe those schisms in the party are going to affect your electoral chances?
I'm not contesting to be the president of the MDC. Okay. I am the president of the MDC. My contest is to be the president of the Republic of Zimbabwe. So my focus is not on petty issues, party issues. My focus is to have a grand national union of all the progressive forces, progressive parties. So far with 7 political parties that have come together to move forward. And that is the focus. I must also make sure that I bring in and bring on some of the parties that have not been playing ball, so that there's one common grand strategy, one common omnibus, big tent, to be able to achieve a victory against the incumbent. This is not just a mere election. This is an election against poverty. This is an election against hunger. This is an election against unemployment. It is an election against hopelessness. It is an election against you being here in the diaspora. We want you back home, running one of the best television stations in Zimbabwe, in Africa, because of your expertise, because of your experience. That is only possible once we have dealt with this election. So this election is not just a mere party's election.
Okay. But is the door open? You've obviously, there are a small number of your former colleagues who've taken a separate road. Do you still have a door open for them? What's your stance?
Look, I'm a leader of all and a leader for all. Those who wish to be part of this democratic train, to be part of this revolutionary train, are free and ready to join, to come back. Those who have gone, of course, subject to what certain dictates of the Constitution articulate. So we are very clear about that.
Okay. The MDC Alliance is the vehicle that you are going to be contesting this election in, and one thing to note about its configuration is that it's basically a reconfiguration of the old MDC 1999 PDP and IBT Welshman MDC.
Sure.
Some are suggesting, why don't you just morph all these into one party?
Well, that is the process. Part of what we are already doing is reconnect to the base, re-energizing the base, and going back to the original, making sure that we form the original into a bigger form. You can see that the momentum is huge, the opportunity is ripe, and the times are exciting. The electricity is unbelievable, incredible connection on the ground, and we are happy with it.
Okay. Your rally in Bedford, quite a success. We saw crowds mobbing your how did that make you feel? This must be a new experience for you.
Very exciting. For the first time we had an open air rally in the UK. It's not an easy thing to have people coming, and there are thousands as they did. We're humbled. We want to thank Zimbabweans in the UK, in the diaspora.
Okay, you obviously a pastor, you are in politics. Some are intrigued by the relationship between you being a pastor and being a politician. How are you seeing it? How's the experience for you?
Well, I'm sure it's something that is new. to some, but it's old to many. We have many reverends who have been active in politics in the United States of America, some successful, some not successful. You have had reverends on the African continent who have been active in politics and also active in the gospel of the Lord. My pastoral responsibilities are ecclesiastical and ecumenical obligations I have to my Lord in terms of harvesting souls to come unto the kingdom of God. And it has nothing to do with my responsibilities on this earth, because I have an earthly assignment and a heavenly assignment, so they don't clash. If anything, I must use the earthly assignment to advance the heavenly call, or of course have the heavenly call building into the earthly assignment, all working together for good. So there's no conflict whatsoever. If anything, I find it very exciting, and I think it's a conflation of my mandate on earth.
Okay. There's a bit of controversy about an example you gave, an analogy. Some of your supporters said a joke about you offering your sister if Mnangagwa got 5% of the vote. From the horse's mouth, are you being misquoted? How do you respond to that accusation that you were demeaning women?
Well, I must say that political banter must be understood by political players. For starters, I actually don't have a sister who is 18 years. And as a matter of fact, just to show you that it's political banter. So when you build images for purposes of conveying a message, you should not then be taken literally. And I'm very sorry to those who feel offended, but they shouldn't feel offended because it was not meant to offend anyone. If anything, this was just meant to illustrate a point. But you will see that most of the people who are trying to ride on this are people who believe in President Mnangagwa. Perhaps it's the 5% that I indicated that supports President Mnangagwa. They are so angry about it. But if they support their president, why should they be angry about a person who will never be a president? Unless if they are convinced in their 5% that I will win, and they're so angry that they would want me to kowtow to their thinking and to their line of reasoning.
Okay. My final question, I know you've got important engagements to take part in. The issue of primary elections in your party, quite divisive. And I know this happens in all parties, that some will be bitter, but let me pick your brains on the Harare West issue, simply because it's been used as an example of you not deploying your cadres properly, saying why are two reputable women contesting against each other.
I will not micromanage the party. This is a people's party. People make decisions in the various constituencies. I respect the will of the people at all levels. We have a constitution, we have a process, and we must respect the constitution and that process. In terms of the first stage being the issue of vetting, all the candidates that are in good standing go into participation. Once they participate, there are two levels. The first level is consensus building. Candidates have to agree amongst themselves, or at least the constituents who say so and so is the best foot forward for the party in this constituency. Then, if the consensus is agreed upon and agreed to by all the parties, we do not go to an outright full throttle primary election. That stage is very important because it's part of building fundamental bridges, particularly in uniting people. Once that fails, we go to the third stage, which is a primary. And a primary, where there's a choice, there's division. Where there's division, that comes with the decision making. And we can't interfere. We'll have to then heal thereafter, but people have to choose a leader of their choice. We're not going to impose any candidate. We want people to have the right to define who should represent them. In any event, it's not a person who is representing Harvest House or MDC in Parliament. It is a person who is representing the people through MDC in Parliament.
Okay. Well, that was Advocate Nelson Chamisa, the president of the Opposition Movement for Democratic Change. He's, of course, the presidential candidate for the MDC Alliance. He's joining us here on Nehanda TV in the UK. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nehanda Radio. You're doing a good job, and we appreciate the work that you are doing. We read about your stories back home, and people love the kind of accountability that you have to the people. We really appreciate that media diversity, and hope that you'll be able to come back home and set up in terms of Nehanda Radio being one of the biggest televisions. I see it being big under my administration. Thank you.
Okay. I hope that's the giraffe anointing talking, seeing into the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.